Good day, I'm Dr. T, and welcome to my office, and this is Space Haven. I did a review of this game a little while back, and they have released a few updates since then. As you can see, we're currently on Alpha 13. 14 is coming up fairly recently, so it's actually been a little while. I probably should have reviewed this a little bit sooner than I did, but I think the last one was like 12 or something, so it's been a couple updates. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, load up my game that I've been playing, and so let's talk about what's changed, because there have been a lot of changes. Okay, so I've got my ship going on around here. I'm kind of recovering from a little bit of battle damage, kind of expanding. So if you remember the last time, wow, where to start? Let's kind of hit the basic idea if you hadn't watched the last video. So in this one, you've got a spaceship. You're basically making a base, but unlike most base building games, you can move your base. So you can jump on, you can move, you can travel around a relatively limited series of stars and gather resources, etc. So it's very much like a normal base building game, except for your base moves. And by moves, I just mean jumps. So it's not like you can move it a little to the left or anything like that. Okay, you have a group of individuals. Each one has different stats. So if I click on somebody, I can see a bunch of stats. Higher stat in an area, the better they do the job. Certain times they'll have to have a stat. Right off the bat, here's one thing they've changed. This is really a much better description of what's going on with these individuals. You can see, color coding for different skill levels. They can grow their stats. They can mature. So in this case, Mario over here, I think it's Mario. I mean, he can eventually become very proficient with weapons, which allows him to use, presumably shoot better, hit things more, but also use more and more advanced weapons during boarding actions, which I'll maybe try and show you one of those. Then with these individuals, once again, the skills have changed. You've got a little bit better description of what's going on with the individuals, and the inventory is basically the same. You equip them with different weapons for when you're doing boarding actions, and Mario's on my boarding team. Now, otherwise, you still get your hyperbaric chambers, or your cryogenic chambers, I should say, for when you're doing your large jumps from one star system to the next. It's really kind of an annoying feature, but I get it. Now, it looks like I'm getting some low oxygen warning, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that, just to make sure I don't get myself in trouble. Okay. Now, what I need to point out, really, the major change in this game that changes a lot is kind of twofold. One, the way points are allocated. So in the original game that I reviewed, you had this system points. Basically, how much stuff can you have in your station? And basically, the only things that really accounted for that were your weapons and shields and your hull stabilizers. And so then you really had this kind of defense, two levels of defense and two types of weapons that you were balancing, building, and thus did you want to become a glass cannon? Did you want to become a tank? How did you want to build your system? Because you were going to take some kind of, you had to go one way or the other. You only had so many points. Now, there's a lot more points available, but they're coming from your hull stabilizers. So I'm no longer debating, do I want shields or hull stabilizers? I have to have the hull stabilizers in order to build the other major components. But there are more components that need this than just simply military ones. My power system also requires that. So I've got my power reactor. That's going to require, I believe it's 1 point to get. So yeah, each one of these takes 1 system point. My batteries take 1 system point. And of course, you remember that was a big change. Originally, I had a ton of batteries in here in my earlier builds because you needed to store power, especially if you're going solar powered. Nowadays, you only have 2 kind of power connections, and this is the other major change when it comes to power. The power is done completely differently. Originally, you were making these connections of grids, but now you're simply putting in either a large or a small power connector, and then those will give power to everything around them and shuffle power around. That's completely different. And that is a change that I don't like, actually. I liked having to make the connections. I liked thinking about how your power grid worked. I didn't like the fact that you were capped at only having 3 connections. 4 would have made life so much easier. You can just do a grid on 4. That would have made life so much easier. But to get rid of it altogether, for simplicity's sake, I did not like. I really think they just should have added 1 more connection. Additionally, things like power generators and solar panels don't become part of those connections. I mean, there's no connections, but you just plop them there. They don't have their own kind of power source around them. So once again, the power system got really simplified for most of it. And that was some of the charm of the game. I really liked the power system. Now, when it comes to power, you will also notice something rather interesting. And let me pull up my power control panel. There's actually 2 types of power. You have advanced power and base power. I don't really know what the difference, but conceptually trying to think of what the difference, voltage? I don't know. Maybe this is the 410 and that's the the 120 or something. But this makes for an interesting play style. So base power you can get from your reactor or from solar panels. So I'm going to stop my reactor. What you'll notice, my power supply will start degrading here pretty quickly. And then what will happen is all my machinery over in here will run out of power and stop working. Now, it's not being used very much, so it's actually probably a good thing I stopped asking for power. Because as the reactor is running, you're burning fuel. Now I'm not burning fuel. My base power is controlled entirely by my solar panels. And this actually makes a lot of sense. I think this was something I said in the last video. I should go back and watch it. And that was a realistic space station is going to have a lot of solar panels. And that's another change that I really like. They really reformatted their tech tree. So the tech tree, did not look nearly so straightforward to this one. This has been much more cleaned up. So you've got different categories of topics. You're able to, do research, still use the research bench, etc. But you are able to have a queue. And so for some reason, I'll get to some reason why. If you can't research this one, you start researching this one kind of thing. And you can just queue them up. You don't have to constantly switch over to which one's which. But the other thing you'll notice is that originally solar panels were fairly locked behind a decent number of techs. And then they had a pretty restrictive requirements. They needed the tech blocks, which are one of the limiting factors as you're growing. So it was very hard to make a large number of solar cells, and you needed a ton of solar cells because you were trying to power everything instead of having the base power versus the advanced power. Whereas nowadays, the solar cells are relatively cheap. I mean, that's technically a fairly advanced block, but you usually have a ton of those. And the other 2 are just your basic building blocks. So with the solar cells, also your base power capacity is 100. Originally, they were 10. They were much weaker than they are now. So with this one, it really allows you to get solar cells early and get your base power taken care of and not needing to rely on technology or rely on fuel. So right now, once again, I don't have any fuel. All of my power is going to my major buildings for the advanced power. That's storing in my storage battery. Fairly straightforward. Still have the research console, but there is now a research task area, kind of a lab space. Let's see, that's under facility workbench. And so in this one, this is an interesting one where certain researches, certain requirements require that you obtain a certain sample. So in this case, I'm trying to get a data sheet on these haulers. These haulers are obnoxious. They're one of the 2 aliens that you run into. And I really wish they would add some more aliens. Hopefully they're coming in the future. But with these guys, you research them, and I think you get a boost on attacking them. At least once I got the crawler, which is the baseline one, I feel like I'm attacking them a lot more aggressively now than I was beforehand. So I'm not entirely sure what this gains you, which is kind of the frustrating bit. I would like to know, okay, why do I research this technology. I'm not entirely sure why, other than you get kind of like information on the critter, but I can just look that up on the wiki. That said, in order to get this, you have to dissect them. So this one, you had to dissect 3 collar corpses, and this one I have to research 3 hauler corpses, which I've gotten 2. I'm really wanting that 3rd one, because if this does give me some extra firepower, I want it, because once again, these things are a pain. So that's not the only thing you have to do that with. So like if we're looking at, say, where is one? Oh, the power generator. You have to dissect some energy, the raw energy and the refined energy source. So you get that kind of basic idea. So yeah, some nice kind of, progression on this one. More of the the arcade and this guy both take tech blocks, which makes them a little bit harder to build, but that makes sense. The couch, you no longer have to research the couch. I don't know why you had to research the couch to start with, but that was kind of weird. Things like your industries, you now have to have individuals of a high enough skill level. So that was actually a little bit of a problem for me starting off because, once again, you can grow your various things, but the nuts required a botany of 5. The highest I had was a 4. So I couldn't grow nuts for the first little while until I had someone who trained up enough to get to botany 5. And then artificial meat, a little bit higher than that. That wasn't a problem because by the time I unlocked artificial meat, I had at least 1 or 2 people with a sufficiently high botany that was no longer a problem. Okay, I am really worried about what on earth is up with my oxygen. This seems kind of low. Holy cow, that is not kind of low, that is low. Okay, so I'm going to build some walls and build some oxygen plants to try and address this. And I always grab the wrong spot. And life support, let's put in some oxygen down in here. And let's put in a gas scrubber down there. And yeah, I'm going to put that guy as a high priority. I have acquired several refugees from a ship that got attacked. So they're kind of hanging out over my refugee space, trying to build up, various resources for them to make their time a little bit nicer. This is another area where I should point out when I'm talking about making their life a little bit nicer, and this I need to rework some over here. This is kind of an ad hoc build. Comfort level, they have come up with 3 different types of comfort. So you have work comfort, rest or leisure comfort, and then sleeping comfort, which, yeah, I need to make some bedrooms to make this a little bit nicer. Also, I probably should put a wall around the toilet. They would probably really appreciate a wall around the toilet. And so, yeah, you get this kind of general idea. It makes you think about what goes where a lot more than the earlier versions did, which, I think is a good choice. Additionally, this one I love. They finally have an in-floor light. Which means ideally you would have an overhead light, but this is the metaphorical equivalent of an overhead light, I guess, where you are, it's not really taking up space. You can walk on it or under it if it was an overhead light. And it's like, okay, so I want to get them a little bit more comfortable, so I'll get some furniture on over here. Just, to be nice to them. And then, of course, I look over here. I've got my cruise area. They've got their bed comfort areas. That's got some individual bedrooms. The leisure area, it makes sense. And you basically are adding the furniture, table, chairs, and the other leisure items. Some more diversity of leisure items would be nice, but not really needed for the most part. Oh, what's my temperature look like over in this area? 22°C. Okay, that's reasonable. That why is that in blue? Oh, that's just being built. That's why. Okay, that's a little bit toasty over there, so I probably need to think about putting some temperature control over here. This is going to be my new docking bay because of the next feature that they added that I really liked. Okay, so one of the scenarios, if you're doing battle with somebody, then what can happen is either you shell them back and forth, but eventually they're going to try and storm your place. They're going to try and hop on board, and in the process, they're going to, try and conquer you, come in guns blazing. So what you can do now is one, you can set battle stations. So new button, battle stations, they go to their battle stations. And the battle stations then means I can say, okay, I know Mario, maybe not right at the moment, but I can draft Mario. And then, trying to remember where the button is. Okay, after an embarrassing amount of time for me looking at this one, I did figure out how to do this. So you click on the person, you have to be in battle station mode. And then you can say, okay, Mario, I want you to stand like in that corner during battle stations. That way Mario can fire upon anyone coming into the airlock. So right now, those who have set battle stations should be going towards their battle stations, I hope. They don't really look like they're going towards their battle station. Let me speed things up. Okay. Yeah, okay, now he's finally there. Okay, so I'm going to turn off battle stations because, you know, I'm not under attack. And the next thing they've got is cover objects. So you can make some defensible positions. So the idea is if, you know, raiders are coming to attack my ship, they're going to go into my airlock, which eventually I'm going to move my airlock up over here, I think. Kind of give a little bit more of an interesting zone of firefighting. But the idea is, I don't know why I have that there, that it should not be needed. Let's look at the power grid. Actually, that probably is needed. Yeah, no, that is needed. Okay, I don't want to dismantle that. Okay, sorry, squirrel. Anyways, I'm going to get ready to move him up here so that, you know, they have to fight their way down the corridor if they attack me. But you get to put some cover objects in there. You set your battle stations, and now so you got your folks who are good gunners. They stood there and, you know, they defend the ship with their high-quality weapons, which is a nice feature. This is something I was definitely wanting to have in the previous game because, you know, if you are getting boarded, it would make sense to have battle stations. Okay, so that's kind of the high points. The things that I have noticed right off the bat that have changed that were fairly meaningfully different because of the generally increased number of system points. You can have more weapons now. So you can make, I believe, and I could be wrong on this, I believe you can make a fairly aggressive ship. Now, you are limited on the number of hull stabilizers, which are the ones that give you the system points. You'll notice that they have kind of a grid that they go into. And so I can't put him, if he's touching, now I can't put him in there because there is that one sitting there. So the size of your ship definitely limits how much firepower you can have. So you can't have this like tiny little turret farm, which is kind of sad, unfortunately. But it definitely means, you know, you got some more design choices. With the kind of spacing, you'll see some of the newer vessels that you meet are kind of donut shaped, which is an interesting utilization of that feature. Okay. And I really wish they would build that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go to jump, and let's try doing a boarding action. I just kind of walk through that one. And I'll just go ahead and speed this up. Oh, I got the autopsy table, so research was conducted. I'm still waiting on the one I want. But I'm going to go over here. I kind of wanted it over there. Once again, that pirate was making a mess of things. So I'm going to drop, and let's see what we got. Okay, that's a big one, isn't it? Notice how I said the donut shape. Okay, so I'm still in my sleep cycle, so this is my strike team. Mario is still learning. Once again, I have high hopes for Mario. Once he levels up to at least level 3, I can get him a shotgun. Your weapon choices are the same as beforehand, but this time it actually makes sense. Your base level is the pistol. Now, let's just be honest. If anyone's ever shot before, you know pistols is hard to hit anything with. So I kind of don't quite get why it's a level 1 weapon, but I kind of get it. Your submachine gun is your level 2 weapon, so you need a little bit higher proficiency, faster fire rate, which makes sense. Submachine guns, though, especially if they have a folding stock, are much easier to shoot. So once again, pistols aren't a level 1 weapon. Then you go for the assault rifle or the shotgun. It's an interesting choice that they made the shotgun level 3. I think that's more of a balance issue. That said, I mean, these shotguns have, huge dispersion. Real ones do not disperse as much as these guys. You can see the bullets while they're firing. Yeah, so just waiting on this to take place. And what I found in the old days playing the game is you really wanted to let your folks be fresh. Otherwise, they would have problems. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and... yeah, I'm going to draft you, I'm going to draft Mario, I'm going to draft Nerve and Noel. Unfortunately, they alphabetized them. I really wish the people, I could cluster them, or they clustered by shift. So just remembering where they are alphabetically. Okay, and now this is subtracted. Ingem, I'm low on that one. Okay, that's a concern. Okay, so I need to dock somewhere. I like a nice blown out spot personally, and that I don't see. Okay. Now I've got the 4 of them. I'm just going to kind of get my strike team, and I'm just going to kind of explore the ship. Now, one thing I wish they could do, I wish it was a research, I wish there was some training ways, but to get them to like walk and fight at the same time, this kind of fighting motion. Whereas they basically walk, then they stop, then they shoot, which... I mean, especially if you see an enemy that you can shoot, just stop and shoot. Don't walk right by him while he's chewing on you. This will be interesting. Odds are there are hostiles. We just haven't run into them yet. I can't remember if I talked about the robots. The robots make life nice because you are definitely crew limited, and so your logistics robots shuttle things around so your crew does not have to. Is this place empty? This could be interesting. I was kind of hoping for a firefight. But this looks empty. This really looks empty. We've got some coin or something. I will address that later. This seriously looks empty. Some of the design of these guys, I'm not quite for sure why, and I don't know how you build the tables. I'm not for sure how you make the long tables. There's probably some like shift click or something to do that. Man, this is looking like it's empty. Yeah, it was empty. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, so I'm going to have them go over and take care of that while I set some priorities here. So keep your spacesuits on. Yeah, I want the water. Want that. Want that. Want that. Salvage. I don't need to salvage much. So to be honest, I've got a ton of infra scrap and a ton of hull scrap. I don't really need to salvage much. So I'm going to be honest, I'm just not going to. So I'm going to go ahead, undraft everyone, undraft you, and they probably, oh boy, they're running low on oxygen. They're probably just going to grab everything on board and then move it, and I'll just jump again. Obviously, I don't want the human meat because ew, and also I don't want to get, nailed. There are certain items that are contraband. Human meat and slave collars are contraband in this game. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just get ready to jump again, because that was dull. Let's go over here. Drop. Apparently there's an accident. Pro tip I found, put all your industry in a low oxygen environment. That way if someone catches on fire, well, the fire doesn't last long. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to wait a day just so they can get some sleep. You got to be nice to your people to do the exploration of this vessel. And let's see if we can get kind of a firefight on that one. Did pick up some energy, though. I wish there was a way to say, wear your spacesuits in here. You got the spacesuit door, which they put on a spacesuit as they go through, but they don't always put on a spacesuit. It's kind of, like working with a place that's not safety culture focused. It's like, hey, you're suffocating in a low oxygen environment. Maybe you should put on a spacesuit. I don't know. And they don't always do it, which is really frustrating. But, what can you do? And I love how these are clearly better beds. Those are clearly, unquestionably better beds there, and yet no one's there. Did I not put lights in there? Oh, whoops. Yeah, once again, I was not expecting nearly this many refugees all at once, and I believe they're from the Slavers Guild, so not exactly my favorite group of people, but the one of the military guilds. Where's the lights? Had attacked them. Okay, I'm all for that. But then just left them to die. So like, okay, people, that's not cool. Let's give them someplace to hang out at, and then we can address that later. Which, interesting enough, you would think the Slavers Guild would be like the bad guys, but I mean they are. And I just zoomed past, didn't I? Okay. Well, I'm going around again. I gotta pay attention to the time. Once you're on fast, it goes pretty quick. What am I low on? Ingram. Yeah, makes sense. Oh, Mario, has he improved? Still not level 3. Oh yeah, he didn't shoot anything. Okay, so they're all going to take a nap. At least my strike team is. You can definitely do shifts, which is something I like doing. So I've got folks on 3 different shifts. And I really don't need this many people on the same shifts. So I'm going to move her to a later shift. That way you've got a little bit more efficient use of beds, etc. And then everyone's working at a much more regular pace. Which that's how you want to do it. If you've got something you're running 24 hours a day, you want to run it 24 hours a day. That way work gets done. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and start getting my strike team together, and we're going to go inspect this ship as well. See if we can get some good stuff, and I want to pick a fight with some assorted aliens, give you a feel for the aliens. Okay, this is blown apart. I like going into the blown apart bits. The crawlers can't cross empty space. The haulers can, but the crawlers can't. So this gives you kind of a ability to attack from a position of strength. You can gain access, they can't. Of course, that didn't help. Okay, we got some credits. I'm guessing they're almost like a cryptocurrency or something if you've got a pad that you can just access to get money from. Once again, I'm not seeing any hostiles. I'm seeing a lot of credits. That's kind of weird. Now, this is definitely one of those cases. The pre-built ships are always much more subdivided than the way I build mine. So I'm not for sure if that's just kind of for flavor or if maybe I should be subdividing my ships a lot more. I am not seeing hostiles. Man, the last few ships before I started recording, it was a slug to get through all the hostiles. Okay, that's the toilet. Okay, it does make sense. Oh, there's a hostile. See what I mean? They're just ignoring them. They're waiting until they stop to start shooting. It's just like, guys, I'm 100% a civilian, and I know enough to not do that. Okay, that's one of the haulers, and these guys move quick, so I'm just going to kind of let him come out, let my team shoot him at range, I hope. Okay, maybe not. I want to get some more air. I do have to watch for their O2 levels. And he's probably going to come in. And once he does, yeah, let's take him out. Now, perfect world, he left his corpse. And I don't think he did. I need one more corpse in order to research that. And they usually don't drop. Okay. So, oh, looks like they've infested. They're laying some eggs. Okay, Nola's not doing well. So they've infested this area. They're laying eggs. And yeah, this is an interesting one. So this is going to be a little bit more work to take this out. And I would really like some like fixed formations. So I can say, Noel, stay in the back. You're hurt. Don't go, you know, being a hero kind of thing. Okay, so cleared that out. That's kind of their breeding area with their nests. And if you let those eggs alone, they will hatch. And you will have more of them. Okay, looks like Noel has passed out. That's not good. So, who is holding Noel? I'm just going to have everybody go back to the ship. And then that way... Okay, don't run ahead of the group. Yeah, there's a certain level of tactical awareness that these guys have. It's just like, once again, as a complete civilian, I know enough to not do this. Obviously, they're just robots. You know, just the AI. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop Noel off, and then... See, Mario, you can wait. Beatrix, once you drop him off, I'm going to have you jump back. Actually, you know what? Get some oxygen, you two. Okay, Noel should be safe inside the spacecraft for at least a little bit. And while these guys finish cleaning out the rest of the building, or spaceship, it should be almost clean. I probably have killed everybody that needs to be offed, and I just have to explore these last couple of rooms. Although that... Okay, that was it. Okay, so... No, don't shoot. Let's see, I can undraft you, and now we're just going to kind of take things over. I'll go ahead and pause, set my settings here. Transfer, yeah, I want that. Any contraband, I don't see anything red highlighted, so I'm just going to move everything over, and we'll compost the assorted bodies, which is, you know, not an unreasonable way to dispose of a body. It's actually kind of a newer approach. Okay, one person is still drafted. I want you to go get that one. What is it trying to pick up? Okay. I'm not going to draft him. Now, you do want to be careful not to leave your people drafted for too long. Otherwise, they'll just, you know, run out of oxygen and die. waiting for command, which is, not the way you want to treat your employees, kind of thing. Okay, so that's kind of the boarding actions taking place. And of course, now Noel will be sent over into he's already there, one of the hospital beds for rehabilitation. And it'll take him a little while to heal. It'll probably take a couple of days for him to get back to normal. While I'm here, I might as well go to the compost machines and say, yeah, get ready to put in, I think it was 3 human corpses. So let's compost, 3 people. Get some resources out of them. Not to mention, not just let their bodies sit in space for all eternity kind of scenario. Okay, so this is kind of, me playing Space Haven. What's this, version 13? This is on the experimental channel. So I like it. The power, guys, the power wasn't bad to start with. It's just you needed 4 connections, not 3 connections. Otherwise, it was pretty good. I liked that. I like the improvements. Once again, I enjoy the game. At this point, I've basically built out my base. I tend to record these videos once the game is basically over for me. I've played it as much as I'm going to play it. And in this case, I probably have played this about as much as I plan on. So I'll wait for another couple of updates. So with that said, if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. In either way, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in later videos.